I just want to make a quick video here about Luciferian Jews versus non-Luciferian Jews. And this involves Bernie Madoff and how things shook out for two women after he stole all their money. Interestingly enough, one of my neighbors had her money invested with Bernie Madoff. And I discovered that only because, they had a list of victims online, and I did a search with a New Mexico area code. And imagine my shock to discover that one of my neighbors, an elderly woman, had her money invested with Bernie Madoff. Now, she lost all her money. She had been invested with him for more than 10 years. But the deal was, she didn't know her money had been invested with him. Her stockbroker out in California, I guess, he had invested her money with Bernie Madoff. And when Bernie Madoff went belly up, Barbara, because she's secret society and an occultist, didn't suffer a thing. Her Eastern Star Lodge, or whatever it's called, continued to support her until she died, which was she didn't die until I think it was 2015. So for another 7 years, they supported her. She was allowed to live in her home. And it was as if the financial crisis had never happened for her. And she was a Luciferian Jew. The other Jewish woman I know more her family, but she had been brought up very wealthy all her life. Her father had owned a garment manufacturing company on 7th Avenue in New York. I don't think Barbara ever knew the Luciferian part of Judaism, and just how some Catholics never realized that Catholicism is paganism. She never realized that Judaism is Luciferianism. When Bernie Madoff went bust, and she was 71, she was destitute. Nobody came in to help her live, to give her money to sustain herself. And she ended up committing suicide. Then her daughter, who was in her mid-40s when it happened, and her mother committed suicide, I guess it was like about a year later. She had enough money, cash in a bank account to last her a year. And when the money was gone, she committed suicide. And what happened to her daughter? Then her daughter tried to file a claim against the, Bernie Madoff Trust, whatever it was called, to give money to the victims. But as my neighbor, they had been invested way too long with Bernie Madoff, so they were not entitled to any money. If you were invested with him for 10 years or longer, you got no kind of restitution. And the poor daughter, I felt so bad, she committed suicide. Nobody came to her rescue. So clearly there's something going on about, if you're an active Luciferian, the tribe takes care of you. And if you're not, you're SOL, poop out of luck. And not all Jews are Luciferians. Some Jews know about that other Jews are Luciferians, but they just try to ignore it, I suppose. But that's how it shakes out, and that's how we shouldn't take it against all Jews, because here, Barbara, my neighbor, she was a crypto Jew. She wasn't outwardly a Jew, didn't look like a Jew, but she was a crypto Jew, and she didn't suffer. Whereas the woman who was brought up under Judaism committed suicide. And that's what I have to say about that. Thank you. Oh, how do you like, those are actual buffalo. I'm on an Indian reservation.